is in this age and time, I personally believe he should be put in jail. But, I mean, the people decided ultimately. So, Congress is paying the sins, I mean, they're paying for the sins of words uttered by such irresponsible individuals at one level. As for Muslims and elections, I like that question because normally it was assumed that the Muslim vote goes to the Congress, but this particular elections were interesting because the Muslim vote was divided. At one level they knew that the Congress is not going to come to power. So in a state like Uttar Pradesh, where the Muslims usually vote either for the Congress or the SP, the Samajwadi Party there, a very prominent regional party. This time, the SP got some of the Muslim votes, the BSP, yet another party, the Bahujan Samaj Party, got Muslim votes, the Congress, and overall in the country, 4 to 5% of Muslims have also voted for the BJP. So this is all over the country. And because the Muslim votes normally used to go in a block, this time it was fractured completely. This doesn't mean there has been a Hindu consolidation of votes. No, that is not the case. The BSP, for instance, the leader, Ms. Mayawati, she claims that she is a leader of the Dalits. They have retained 20% of the popular vote in Uttar Pradesh, but they don't have a single member of parliament. So which is, 1 in 5 has voted for the BSP, but they still don't have a single member in parliament. So it's been a very interesting election. The Samajwadi Party has been reduced to being a family party. The 5 MPs it has in parliament are, it's like father-in-law, daughter-in-law, cousins. That's how it is. So it's a remarkable scene. That's how it goes. So Muslim vote this time has been very interesting. This is something which I love to keep an eye on.
Thank you.
Okay, and about privatization, and as we mentioned before, that the purpose of privatization in India is to raise cash and to generate more revenue to solve the physical basic problem, which is a major problem in India right now. And privatization, it was a very popular policy. I guess most of us can remember during 1980s and the 1990s. A lot of countries went through privatization, and in certain industry, for example, like utility industry, like power and such infrastructure industry, such as rail industry and telecom, and those are the first industry to become privatizing in many countries. But I'm not sure which industry will be targeting the new government. But nonetheless, the certain industry, for example, the rail, the power industry, is quite financially underperformed in India. But I believe that now is a good timing for India to privatize certain industry to sell certain state-owned or state-run business, because the new government will attract a lot of foreign capital inflows, and the second is the stock market will rise, and we can see that right now. So I do believe that the privatization, the timing now is very good, especially in this next few years. That will be good timing and a good settlement for privatization.
Thank you. Finally, I'd like to invite Dr. Stanton. Sorry for keeping you waiting so long. To give a closing remarks for the symposium, please.
Well, I'm not an expert on India. I did spend 2 years in Pakistan and got to visit India, fortunately, a few times. But I'd like to just offer some general reflections on the recent election in India. And first of all, I'd also like to thank our guests, Dr. Fang, Ravi Prasad, Professor Chan, Ma Tao, who are experts. I thought their remarks were really quite interesting. I learned a lot during this conference. And I'd like to thank all of you who participated today. A few of us had the opportunity on election night to go to the home of the ambassador of India here in Taiwan and to watch the election results coming in by satellite. And it was remarkable what feeling of elation there was in the room to see the results of the election. And I think that reflected several things. One is simply that the largest democracy in the world had turned out 550 million voters. And through electric balloting, which doesn't even happen everywhere in the United States, they had the results within 5 hours. That the vote was so definitive, which we haven't seen in a long while in the United States, and is one of the downsides of democracy, as we see, for example, with President Obama's administration, where the Congress is completely divided and it becomes more difficult to do things. And indeed, as we've learned today, even with the great majority that Prime Minister Modi now has, he faces many challenges, whether from regional parties or from factions within his own party, or the difficulties in any democracy of making any policy work. Democracy is great because it offers us freedom and it offers us choice. It's not necessarily always the most efficient form of government, which we know when we see the difficulties the US has moving forward as opposed to the difficulty what the PRC does. They want to build a bridge, they simply move 100,000 people out of the way and they build the bridge. In Taiwan, there are major campaigns if you want to move 3 families or 4 people. But we were elated not only because the significance of this for democracy, but because most of us in this room, I think, belong, certainly Taiwan, Japan, India, the United States, Taiwan. We are democracies, and to the extent we see a fellow democracy prosper and succeed in the process of democracy, that strengthens the democratic community in the global community. And I was talking to Ravi a little bit earlier about, there have been some studies recently. There's a book called The Beijing Consensus, which talked about how Beijing's approach to economic development has won a lot of favor, particularly in countries where democracies are not so popular, particularly in Africa and Latin America. And Beijing seems to be saying or proving that you can have an autocracy, you don't need a democracy, and still you can make great economic progress. So why I'm excited about the Indian election, and particularly one that's so decisive, and particularly the election going to someone who believes in the power of the markets, the power of the economy with the proper policies to move forward, is if he succeeds, that will be a great asset, a great achievement for the democratic form of government in the world, and will be a strong counterpoint to the success China has had. From a more personal point of view, as a former American diplomat, I'm happy too because I am hopeful that there are prospects for improved relations between India and the United States, but also between India and Taiwan, as we've also heard, between India and Japan, fellow democracies. And to that extent, India could serve as a strategic counterpoint, if not a counterweight, to what we are seeing recently in, we've seen two former empires, Russia and China, re-emerging as empires and interested in territorial expansion. In the Crimea, where nobody did anything, and now we see also more aggressive moves in the South China Sea. I think to the extent we have a country which is also founded by Gandhi, who believed in non-violence and peace and non-aggressive action, I think it's an encouraging sign if India can make greater economic progress. They've already, as Ravi's made clear, made progress in fighting, the problems of caste. As an American, I'm proud that the United States, it took a very long time, but we finally made progress on the problem of discrimination against people of different races, although there's still a long way to go. But overall, I think it's important we have a meeting like this and we celebrate the Indian celebration of democracy. And I think it could have, and I'm hopeful it will have, very positive consequences for the problems that the world faces today on a global range of issues. And so for that I say, hear, hear, India, well done. Thank you.
I think that today's symposium is quite a success. I'm glad that everybody attend, and I hope you have a great time up here. I think we'll stop here. Let's end.
Thank you.